Hey, I'm Jim the Man, and today I bring you Fingers the Echidna. I bet most of you have never heard of this guy, and that's a good thing. Anyway, I've never done this before, but could you, subscribe? It's a small thing, but it might mean a lot in the future. Who knows? I certainly don't. Let's get quickly into the video. This is the story of something that happened in Sonic 3D, a game I played when I was quite young. I was never sure if it really happened, or if I had in fact imagined the whole thing. But recently, I was given reason to believe that not only did this experience definitely happen to me, but that I wasn't the only one who, so I decided to share this with all of you. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I was an avid console gamer. I owned a Super Nintendo, and a friend of mine had a Sega Mega Drive. We had no bias towards one or the other. In fact, the console war had always seemed petty and
ridiculous
to us. Used to trade consoles for a few weeks at a time. We even used to joke that Mario and Sonic would someday appear side by side in games together, just to annoy others. Those whom we considered clueless, immature fanboys. We can imagine my astonishment then when this actually happened. This friend of mine, who shall remain anonymous, had purchased Sonic 3D for the Mega Drive. We didn't think much of this game. We considered the consoles wasn't very good. The level design were more annoying than challenging. The way the floor
checkered
got on our damn nerves in the console
detection
just seemed very off. Despite this, when we did another of our temporary console trades, I decided I'd try playing the game through anyway. Typical of any Sonic game at the time, I thought the soundtrack was excellent despite the game's other shortcomings. And if anything, I mostly just played the game for its music. Then it occurred to me, Sonic and Knuckles, which famously had an extra cartridge slot in the top, was backwards compatible with the earlier Sonic games, allowing the player to control
niggles
when they normally couldn't. I had a brainwave. What if it somehow forwards compatible with Sonic 3D? Was there some secret to unlock by connecting them? I was no programmer, expert at the tentative age of 11, so I easily allowed myself to believe it was possible. I plugged Sonic 3D into Sonic and Knuckles and turned on the game. To my surprise, I was indeed not shown the whoa, no way screen that came up from any other incompatible game. After this
chorus
and logo cleared from the screen, though, I would find myself disappointed. Sonic and Knuckles just started up normally, as if no game were plugged in the top. I shut the game back off and went back to play Sonic 3D. I didn't think a right lot of the game, but I was still motivated by the simple fact that I hadn't beaten it. And then I had the willpower to play through and finish any game, no matter how poor I thought it was. So the game started up. I started playing as normal, skipped the opening, exports about Robotnik capturing the Flickies, blah blah blah, and started in the Green Hills I'm too used to Sonic reusing Green Hill Zone. Hold up. And started in the Green Groove Zone. I grabbed some rings and broke into the secret area I was now familiar with from my earlier plays, grabbing the gold shard that was in there, jumped in the cannon, and was sent to where Knuckles was standing, as he always was, waiting for me to hand him 50 rings to enter his bonus stage. I walked up to him and handed them over. Yawning. The bonus stage started.
Effortlessly.
I passed the first 2 checkpoints, at which point the game then told me, get 150 rings. I already had 155, which I thought was quite funny. I had always been a bit disappointed with how they'd try to do some kind of I had always been a bit disappointed with how they'd try to do some kind of improved version from the Sonic 2 bonus stage, but ultimately made it look poorly rendered and way too easy. Even as a child, I could see it wasn't very good. I cruised through, not really trying, but then I got close to the end, and the game told me,
Go.
strange, I thought. By this point, I had well over 200 rings. Why would I still have?
Go.
I shrugged this off and carried on collecting rings. But the game kept insisting.
Go.
And yet, I reached the Chaos Emerald at the end, and Sonic collected it. He flew off the screen, the usual score tallies appeared, and then it was back to the main game. There I was, standing next to Knuckles, and I began to run off to finish the level. Oddly enough, however, Knuckles moved from his spot and began to follow me. Cool, I thought. Maybe if he had the animated frames for this, he might have been unlockable as a playable character. After all, his wall climbing skills and punching might have made this a far more suitable character for an Islamic game such as this. I pressed on, killing a badnik and collecting the first flicky from it. Then things turned weird. Knuckles extended a hand and grabbed the bird that was flying around Sonic. I'm not sure what happened to the bird. Knuckles grabbed it, and then it was gone. I had no time to think about it as Knuckles extended his hand again, this time towards Sonic. I had a bad feeling that Knuckles might have been turning against Sonic for some reason. So I tried running away, but then Knuckles approached to unclench his fist, to open his hand, and his fingers seemed to separate and extend. His fingers actually appeared to be stretching, growing to unnatural lengths. I figured this was something worth avoiding and continued
Commanding.
Sonic to flee. But the tendril-like fingers caught up to him in no time and wrapped around his ankles. Sonic lost his balance and fell over, but didn't lose any rings, oddly enough. And the Chaos Emerald I collected on the bonus stage popped out of Sonic, tumbled on the floor. Knuckles. No, fingers. as I will now call him after the most
Peculiar.
feat I saw him do. Then let Sonic go and moved his strange, abnormally long fingers to collect the Chaos Emerald that Sonic had dropped. They dragged the emerald over to where Fingers was standing, like some kind of.
White retractable garden rake.
He raised the emerald into the air, and it began to float, orbiting his body. He didn't move from this position. He just stared blankly at Sonic, the gem floating around him. Sonic got to his feet quickly, and so I decided to run him through the level, hoping that Fingers wouldn't pursue me, either on foot or with his extending fingers. Much to my relief, he didn't. And after a while, I found Tails. Knowing this drill by now, I handed him my rings and entered the bonus stage. This one had nothing unusual about it. It didn't even insist that I still had.
13 to go.
And so Sonic grabbed the Chaos Emerald and once again was teleported out. The game brought us back to Green Groove Zone, but Tails was not where he should have been. Instead, there was Fingers the Echidna, waiting for me again. Once again, he attempted to extend his long fingers to grab Sonic, but I was prepared for this, and spin dashed out of the way. I rounded a corner, but somehow Fingers was already waiting. Before I could react, he grabbed Sonic by the throat, his long fingers wrapping around the hedgehog's neck.
Silken noose.
And soon Sonic was being lifted into the air, being choked out by Fingers. Sonic struggled and squirmed, trying to break himself free, but Fingers was too strong for him. The drowning jingle began to play, and in a few moments Sonic fell to the ground, motionless, dead. Saw his life counter go down by 1. The screen faded to black, but instead of starting me in Green Groove again, a different level loaded up. Sonic, apparently unscathed, was standing on this beautiful pale blue green floor, crystally in appearance. The walls looked like a dark purple icon pillars. That was when I noticed the music. Hidden Palace from Sonic and Knuckles. This wasn't.
Isometric recreation of the Hidden Palace Zone.
I was too confused and nervous about what had been happening to appreciate it, so I decided to start exploring. There were some rings beside Sonic's starting position, believing they might protect Sonic from what was coming. I collected them. Then, heading northeast, I noticed a mural on the wall. I thought back to the one in Sonic and Knuckles, the one that appeared to show some kind of polyarneth of Super Sonic flying through space and rescuing the Master Emerald.
But on close examination I realized it was something different. A blue, spiky figure, presumably representing Sonic, prostrating before a silver-tentacled creature.
A portrait of Sonic being defeated, no doubt. With that Fingers ran into the scene, the 7 Chaos Emeralds floating around him. He leapt into the air. Throughout his limbs, opened his mouth wide, and then came a flash of light. His fur had turned silver.
His spines had become longer, and those fingers of his encircled him almost like a protective barrier.
This must have been what the silver tentacled creature on the mural represented. Super fingers. He floated towards Sonic and decided to make him. This is why I drink. He floated towards Sonic, and I decided to make him move away, waiting to see what Super Fingers would do. It was in vain, of course, as Super Fingers quickly threw his whip fingers at Sonic, picking him up and shaking him like a pepper pot. Sonic lost his rings, but Fingers didn't loosen his grip. As soon as Sonic stopped flashing, Fingers slammed him into the ground, and he exploded in a showing of blue spike. And I eventually noticed one of his red shoes flying out towards the screen, then disappeared, having lives left. The next thing I saw was the game over screen. There was nothing I could have done, though. So I decided to take a break.
Mr. Jim,
Yeah?
is it true you support clankers?
Fuck you. I turned off the console and went to the kitchen to get a cup of tea. Not really
Concentrating.
on what was going on, distracted by my thoughts on what I had just seen. Fingers the Echidna tripping Sonic's ankles, Super Fingers smashing Sonic into the floor with such force that his body exploded. I wandered into the kitchen, where I was immediately handed a cup of tea by someone. Without really looking, I murmured,
Cheers.
and took the cup. I took a sip, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that whoever had handed me that cup wasn't anyone I recognized. A red figure with white gloved hands. In shock, I lowered my cup and spat out the drink, where I saw Fingers standing motionless in my kitchen, staring back at me almost as if to be waiting for me to hand over some rings to take on his bonus stage. Shocked, I looked up at the ceiling and looked down again, but suddenly Fingers wasn't there anymore. Was he here in the real world trying to toying with me as well? I glanced around desperately, suddenly in a cold sweat, and woke up sitting on my couch with a Mega Drive controller in my hand, my TV in front of me, switched off. So that was a...
Dreams?
How much of it? It all felt so vivid. I went back over my memory of this.
Dreams?
The cup of tea, walking into the kitchen, turning off the console, playing Sonic 3D, and being
Ended.
by Super Fingers. But I wasn't sure where reality had ended. And my dream had began. I decided there was no point dwelling on this. I turned the Mega Drive back on, once again, intended to tackle Sonic 3D. The usual Sega logo appeared. I saw heavy, compressed FMV where Sonic runs along some flickies and then pushed the screen and started the game again. The usual tune played, but the opening story wasn't the one I had seen before. I was presented with a still image of a CGI render completed with the limited Mega Drive colored depth of a fighting, terrified Sonic being chased by an enraged Fingers, his fingers extending in Sonic's direction with text that said something along the lines of,
This is Sonic the Hedgehog. He is a menace to Floating Island, and he must be stopped at all costs.
I blinked a few times then turned away from the screen, thinking if I looked away again, it would be back to normal. No such luck. Still, there was Fingers chasing a frightened Sonic. I pushed the C button, advance to the next frame. This time, there was a still image of a frustrated Fingers holding Sonic by the ankle with a look of helplessness on his face. Okay, well, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but this doesn't read right. It was much as Fingers had before when he stole a Chaos Emerald from me. There was text again, something like,
Sonic plans to steal the Chaos Emeralds and harness their power to destroy our home. It's up to us, the Guardians of Floating Island, to ensure he does not succeed.
I shook my head in disbelief. I pushed the C button again, wondering what could be next. Not the smartest decision I've ever made. I was presented with an image of Fingers lifting Sonic by the throat and choking him, as I seen him do before. Fingers' face was full of malice and hatred. His eyes narrowed, his teeth gritted. Sonic had tears streaming from his eyes. You could almost see in his face. Please, don't kill me. There was text again.
He is determined, desperate, and extremely dangerous. Stop him at all costs. Kill him if you even have to.
I pushed the C button one last time and found myself being taken straight to Hidden Palace. Fought before, knowing exactly what was coming. I gathered a few rings, ran to the northeast, and got ready for my encounter with Super Fingers. I knew I probably stood no chance. I was determined to see if there was some way of beating this strange enemy. My determination proved useless. As Fingers made himself known and transformed into Super Fingers,
Inevitability.
of Sonic's defeat was all too apparent as Super Fingers once again lifted him like a rag doll and obliterated him. The screen faded to black. Then, to my complete shock, the Green Grove's music started playing,
The game colorfully announced Green Grove Zone Act 1.
and there was Sonic standing at the beginning of the level with his usual starting amount of lives, wondering if I had been dreaming again. I pinched my arm a few times, but nothing happened. Nope. I was playing Sonic 3D Blast here in the real world, as though nothing was wrong. With a feeling of
Incredulity.
I began playing through the level and dared to once again present 50 rings to
Niggles.
to see if all this would repeat itself. I played through the I think I said that right. Gotta check.
Insultingly.
Bonus stage. I reached the second checkpoint with, well, over the amount of rings it wanted me to try and reach. And when I neared the end, there was no note. The game accepted I had enough rings. Sonic grabbed the Chaos Emerald and everything was back to normal. Knuckles didn't follow me when I left, and within a few minutes, I was finding myself not even thinking about what I had seen, spending the next hour or so
Swearing at the game as one normally would when playing Sonic 3D.
This fat fuck won't stop sending me TikToks. After losing my final life against the boss in
Gene Gadget Zone.
Quite far into the game, I reckoned I'd turn off the console and went for a walk. Without the game to concentrate on, I remembered again as I rolled Fingers the Echidna. Why did it show up? Might I be able to get it to appear again? Could I somehow find a way to defeat it? I cut my walk short and hurried home and tracked what I did before. I plugged Sonic 3D into Sonic & Knuckles, and then unplugged it all and played Sonic 3D normally. But none of those strange things happened. Knuckles' bonus level played out as usual, and I didn't see anything strange. Did I dream it all after all? Perhaps I was going crazy. Next day in school, I asked around my friend. I was never one known for compulsive lying or tall tales, but still, they were quick to
decide.
Alright. I made the whole thing up. Either way, I never saw Fingers the Echidna again, but whenever my mind wanders, I remembered him and his long fingers reaching out, grabbing the helpless hedgehog and tormenting him. Possible ways to defeat him come to me in my dreams. I'd be playing the game, facing Super Fingers again, seeming to make progress, but then I waked up. And realized it had all been for naught. I kept trying what I'd done that seemed to have made him appear the first time, booting up Sonic and Knuckles with Sonic 3D, plugging it in, and each time Sonic and Knuckles started up normally, I'd have that little hope that Fingers was going to appear next time I ran Sonic 3D. But it was not to be. Fingers the Echidna was burned into my memory, and only there would I ever meet it, trying in vain to find ways to trick it down, only for victory to be snatched from my grasp by reality itself.
Nigga, did you just break that vase?
You may be wondering why I kept this to myself for so many years. Why did I bother to share this with any of you? Well, you see, recently it hit me. There are others out there who have seen Fingers the Echidna early in 2013. Awful
symbolic.
If you remember oddity of that ring tally in the bonus stage, someone dropped us a subtle hint. Then a fan film of Sonic the Hedgehog. Fuck! They released a fan film of Sonic the Hedgehog. You remember the one with Sonic's furry spikes and the multiple cameos from internet celebrities? Think back to the very final scene where Sonic runs through a modern-looking render of the Green Hills zone, and we see Knuckles observing him. No, not Knuckles, Fingers. He clearly had those horrifying prehensile fingers. I'm sure they were trying to tell us something. Telling us all to come forward and share our experiences of Fingers the Echidna. So, this is our chance, everyone, to those of you who saw Fingers the Echidna, but weren't sure if you did, and who weren't believed by your peers. Speak up now. We can expose this freak.
Occurrence.
And who knows? Maybe someone out there will know how to defeat it.
Oh my god.